a very good evening to you. And welcome along to another Sweet and Swing here on Max Radio. I'm Howard Kane, always a pleasure to have your company on a Friday evening for the best sounds on the wireless. What have we got? How about a bit of ballroom dancing with Victor Sylvester we'll take to the floor? A classic from Benny Goodman in the Carnegie Hall. Some Frank new collection from our friends at Avid. Jay McShann. But to get us going, how do you fancy a Boogly-woogly piggy?
Boogly-woogly piggy, and he boogie-woogied all the way home. This little piggy had roast beef, this little piggy had none. But this little piggy was a boogly-woogly piggy, and he did the Lindy all the way home. Wiggly-wiggly piggy, boogly-woogly piggy, the boogly-woogly piggy with the... This little piggy did the conga. This piggy thought the waltz was divine. But this little piggy was a smart little piggy, and he boogie-woogied all of the time. Boogly-woogly, piggy, piggy. This little piggy went to market, and this little piggy stayed home. This little piggy was a boogly-woogly piggy, boogie-woogied all the way home. This little piggy had some roast beef, and this little piggy had none. This little piggy was a happy little piggy, and he did the Lindy all the way home. Oink, oink, saucy little piggy. Oink, oink, funny little piggy. Oink, 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 diddly-widdly-widdly-widdly, funny little twiggy. This little piggy made the chopsticks and thought the waltz was divine. This little piggy was a happy little piggy, and he boogie-woogied all of the time.
What's not to like about a Boogly-woogly piggy, complete with noises, I suspect, made by Mr. Roy himself, being the cheeky chappy he was. Does it fall into novelty? Yeah, I think it must do, but none the worse for that. Good catchy number. The Boogly-woogly piggy, Harry Roy and his band, Marjorie Kingsley, Harry Roy himself taking the vocals. One likes to think that Marjorie wasn't doing the snorting, that was just the boys and probably Harry Roy himself. Marjorie hailed from Westcliff-on-Sea, would you believe, and started singing at the ripe old age of 16, which would have been, by my maths, about 1938. And then that's when a professional career started with, not a bad person to start with, Joe Loss. You could do a lot worse, couldn't you? At the Astoria in London's Charing Cross Road. I'm trying to think, the Astoria is still there. I think it is, isn't it? Halfway up. Is it a nightclub now? Something along those lines. And then she became vocalist with Harry himself between 1940 and 1944, and later went stateside, emigrated out to the States. And I don't know what happened to her after that. If you do, let me know. Howard Kane at manxradio.com. Caine. Don't forget the E. Howard Kane at manxradio.com. Love to hear. Or, in fact, if you don't know, but you'd just like to talk about it or mention another track of Harry Roy, whatever, just get in touch. Always lovely to hear. Get a mention and get a play of something. She also sang for a time with a trio called the Royalists. Would you get a trio called the Royalists now? Probably not, I suspect. But it was a trio consisting of Harry Roy, Marjorie Kingsley and Renee Lister. And I think they pretty much performed during the war years, 39-45. I don't know there was much before. I think it was one of those feel-good groups to a large degree. Always like Harry Roy, though, I must admit. Yeah, we found some great stuff, as always, coming from our friends at Avid, and some Frank Sinatra songs. Oh, we got some Petula Clark coming up as well. Been enjoying the Petula Clark. You wouldn't think it would fit in, but it does very nicely indeed. A bit of Jay McShann, and as I say, Avid always bringing out good stuff on their 2-for-1 or 3-for-1 series, where you get, or 4 in fact, classic albums quite often, 5 occasionally, yeah, just have to count them, but on 2 CDs all the time. So some great albums from Frank Sinatra, which they've released recently, and as I mentioned at the top of the hour, Benny Goodman, the famous 1938 Carnegie Hall jazz concert. And I could play all sorts, but because I can, because I do love it so much, I am going to play the long version of Sing, 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 with that great, unexpected and magical solo from Jess Stacey. So don't miss that, whatever you do. Well, that chugs along rather nicely under its own steam, doesn't it? Not at all bad. Lou Davis, nice instrumental there on trombone. Arthur Young piano, George Elliott guitar, and R. Ball it's listed as, and bass. Max Abraham, I think, at the drums. Very nice. Enjoyed that very muchly indeed. A bit of a veteran trombonist, Lou Davis. He worked with Lou Stone and Ambrose and chose a couple of colleagues, really, from the latter band. Dick Ball, it was on bass. I think I gave him the wrong name there. And Max Abrams, that's right there, on drums. And Swing Me Sweetly, I Never Knew. And that particular one was I Never Knew, of course. Arthur Young on piano. George Elliott on guitar. Arthur Young, brilliant pianist, worked for Jack Hilton, amongst other people, and organised the group, you might recall the name, the Six Swingers, and then, of course, led the band at Hatchett's restaurant for quite some time, which was a very popular restaurant in London. He was in residence throughout most of the Second World War. Brave man he, and would sometimes feature the new keyboard instrument which was on the block, the Novachord. Yeah, it was like an early, wasn't a synth so much, but it was like an early sort of electric piano, I think, was probably the best way to describe it. Not that I've ever actually seen one in the flesh, you understand. So if you've got one lurking in your cupboard, go and dig it out, see if it's still working. Why not? It is H with you, Sweet and Swing, through to the top of the hour. Don't forget, we alternate these days on a Friday evening with our sister programme, Jumping In with Brother Chris, the best in modern and contemporary jazz. And all podcasts, you can get them anytime you want. So if you're listening live, hello, welcome as always, wherever you might be. If you're listening on the web, and you could be anywhere then, welcome to you as well. And do drop us a line if you're listening in Canada or Chad or Didab Marouche or Alaska. Yeah, why not drop me a line? Say hello. Just say where you are. And perhaps something you'd like to hear. Love to hear from you. It's always great to hear from people who are in far-flung places. We haven't had any for a wee while, so if you are listening via the web in somewhere more exotic than Ronnig, let me know. Howard Kane at manxradio.com. And like I said, the podcast's available via your usual podcast provider if you want to subscribe, or via the Manx Radio website. Anytime you want, you can keep them for as long as you like. The rest of your years, however long that is. Hopefully we've got a few years left yet between us. I like to think so in any case. Well, I mentioned a bit of Frank Sinatra. Yeah, great new collection come our way from our friends at Avid. 4 classic albums. This is Sinatra, Look to Your Heart, all the way, and Sinatra sings. And we'll go to This is Sinatra. This one, I think, is a classic.
3 coins in the fountain, each one seeking happiness, thrown by 3 hopeful lovers. Which one will the fountain bless? 3 hearts in the fountain, each heart longing for its home. There they lie in the fountain, somewhere in the heart of Rome. Which one will the fountain bless? Which one will the fountain bless? 3 coins in the fountain, through the ripples how they shine. Just one wish will be granted, one heart will wear a valentine. Make it mine, make it mine, make it mine. 3 coins in the fountain, through the ripples how they shine, and just one wish will be granted. One heart will wear a valentine. Make it mine, make it mine, make it mine.
Jay McShann and his orchestra. Great sound, I must admit. I really enjoyed that one with a track called Sepian Bounce. Sepia, I'm not quite too sure what that word actually means. And Jay McShann, amazing player in many ways, and you don't hear him as often now as you ought to. And hailed from the Midwestern states of America, Kansas City and Missouri became a sort of allure to the musicians, the great musicians in the sort of early 20s and 30s and 40s and such like. And Kansas City it was that became a magnet for musicians like those of Dave Lewis and Paul Banks and Jess Stone, Clarence Love and such like. And also Benny Moten, all operated out of Kansas City, and later became that West or Midwestern sound, Kansas City jazz. And James McShann, or give him his full name, James Columbus McShann, what a great name, Columbus for a middle, was born in Oklahoma and largely self-taught on the piano, and by the age of 15 worked with fellow tenor saxophonist Don Byas and joined the Tulsa Band, a 12-piece outfit of Al Denny in 1934, and then had stints in Arizona and New Mexico with Eddie Hill and his Bostonians, and then became a Kansas City band leader almost by chance in 1936. Like I said, it was a place where most of them migrated, but he almost sort of fell there by mistake, as it were. He was en route between his hometown of Muskogee, if that's how you pronounce it, Muskogee with a K, and Omaha, Nebraska, and he had to change buses in Kansas City, because that's what happens, you know, you have to change your bus, don't you? And he decided to spend a little time in KC to see what it was all about, but mainly for the opportunity to hear the Count Basie Band. I think I'd have stopped off and got off my bus in order to hear the Count Basie Band, to be honest. And he ran into some old friends in the town who persuaded him to stay. I don't know what happened to whoever was expecting him at home. Are you coming home yet? No, I'm staying in Kansas. So he stayed there, and at 1936 he was a member of the Kansas City Trio with trumpeter Oliver Todd and drummer Elmer Hopkins. And then he went on from there, realistically. I won't give you his whole history, but yes, Kansas City, he was famous in Kansas City by mistake, as it were. He might never have got there had he not decided to get off the bus. I suspect he might have gone there anyway, because it was the place to go for so many people. But the fact that he sort of fell into it by basically hopping off a bus, meeting a mate, it's chance, isn't it? Fate. You never know what's going to happen with fate. And I think we all can probably pay testament to that. I certainly can. The number of times in my life where I think, good Lord, if that thing just hadn't happened that way, my life would have gone a totally different direction. Don't know if Petula Clark could say the same, but we've been enjoying digging into a little selection of Petula Clark sings. Here she is. Pet sings. In this case, she's singing Somebody.
I know that somebody is waiting patiently for someone like you. Somebody would love to hold you and make all your dreams come true. I know that somebody could make you happy, and it's plain as plain can be that the somebody who loves you most of all is nobody but me. I know that somebody could make you happy, and it's plain as plain can be that the somebody who loves you most of all is nobody but me. That certain somebody is waiting patiently for someone like you. Somebody would love to hold you and make all your dreams come true. I know that somebody could make you happy, and it's plain as plain can be that the somebody who loves you most of all is nobody but me. I know that somebody could make you happy, and it's plain as plain can be that the somebody who loves you most of all is nobody but no one but me. Nobody but me.
Well, have you heard her like that before? She certainly did a vast range of different styles. Somebody Sounds like she was singing with Kenny Ball there or something, doesn't she? And she was an accepted star in her own right, a household name on radio. Started broadcasting when she was just 14 and then became very well known on television as well, and was Outstanding Woman Personality of the Year in 1950. But that was pretty much sort of, with the banjo going, very much traddy style, wasn't it, singing that? It's almost sort of music hall sounding, that version, it has to be said. Did you like the Frank Sinatra earlier on? 3 Coins in a Fountain, by the way. Classic, isn't it? I can't remember, is the film called 3 Coins in a Fountain? I can sort of remember the scene of, is it the Trevi Fountain in Rome or something like that, 3 Coins in a Fountain? I have memories of watching a film. I can't remember whether the film's called that or not. You can feel free to shout at the radio and tell me what it was. You know what memory's like as you get a bit older. Right, can't go wrong with this one. This is a great time to, if you want to put your slippers on and sort of, turn up the volume and paddle around the house. It's a good longie, this one. It's Benny Goodman, a classic. I think we have featured it many years before. I can't remember. We have featured it before, I'm sure, on Sweet and Swing. Possibly even on Jumping In, I don't know. It is Benny Goodman from the famous 1938 Carnegie Hall Jazz Concert, which is one of those concerts, a bit like the one a bit later on with Charlie Parker and Max Roach and Bud Powell and such like. Gone down in the annals of history, as they say, as a sort of a classic. And this was possibly the classic track from that classic concert. It's Sing, 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 long version, like I said, and it features, after I think it's Gene Krupa's drum solo, this wonderful out-of-nowhere solo from Benny's pianist Jess Stacey. They had a bit of a spiky relationship, but just listen out for that. It's later on in the track, and it feels like it's sort of coming to a climactic end. There's lots of tub thumping going on, and dum-dum-dum-dum, this beat going on the drums you can hear, and then this wonderful filigree of a piano solo comes out of thin air. Terrific. Here we go. Ah, yes. Well might they applaud. Terrific stuff there from Benny Goodman and his orchestra in Carnegie Hall in 1938. Sunday evening, January the 16th, I believe it was. Having looked at the flyer, which is included in the notes, or at least a facsimile of such Sing, Sing, Sing by Louis Prima, surely the highlight of the concert, and that wonderful, wonderful solo from Jess Stacey. I just love it. Shouldn't fit in, and somehow or other it does. It's so raucous. You've got Gene Krupa giving an absolute Dixie on the drums and keeping up that ba-dum, dum, ba-dum on the bass drum all the way through, but that rhythm, that tub-thumping rhythm. You've got a cracking solo from Benny Goodman a little earlier on, which in itself is a little gem. And then I think it was the fact that it was unexpected. If you heard that first round of applause, well, it sounds like it's finished, and indeed it did, because the first round of applause, where about halfway through, was the point where the 12-inch commercial recording reached the end of its first side. So it sort of had to be a natural conclusion. And then after that, there were solos by James and by Harry James and by Goodman himself, of course, and Gene Krupa, climaxed by a top A on the clarinet, I think Goodman's, and an even higher audible high C. And then, when it feels like there's nothing left but the formalities, as they say, and I think that was the way the band was thinking. And you can hear Stacey in the background sort of thinking out the ideas for this solo when he's comping behind Benny Goodman. He's playing some of those chords, and you think he's almost sort of formulating this little filigree in his head, and then just sort of comes in unexpectedly. And again, you hear Benny Goodman say, "Hey, Jess," or something, because he wasn't expecting it, and actually move the microphone closer to the piano. You could barely hear the piano solo in the original recording. And Stacey just sort of drops into a new groove, as it says, altogether. And you hear it better on this CD now. One of the most original solos of Jess Stacey's life by most accounts. Certainly the most famous one in any case. Although he was a good player, I feel. He's much underrated. But as it says in the liner notes, just a dim, hardly credible memory until the new recordings brought it to reality again. And then that wonderful raucous conclusion ends the printed programme of the day with that great bass drum at the end, the badunk-a-dunk, and he's on the cowbells, and then you get all the horns coming back in again. It shouldn't work in many ways, and yet somehow or other it just does, which is one of the wonders of jazz and the wonders of music. Sing, Sing, Sing by Louis Prima, never done better, I feel, than by Benny Goodman and his orchestra back in the Carnegie Hall of January 1938.
Then I'm flying.
Betty Roberts on the vocals, Ambrose on the boys in the orchestra. Oh, but I do. And of Betty Roberts, well, I'm not familiar with her. If that's the case, I often turn to my book of words. I have it here. There you go, you can hear it. Yeah, all the pages stuck together. It's been used that often. England's second book of British dance bands, singers and smaller bands. And her turn to Betty Roberts, it merely tells me one line that she sang with Joe Loss, but she wasn't singing with Joe Loss there. She was singing with Ambrose. A lovely voice. I'll have to find out more. Again, if you know more, might be your favourite singer, drop me a line at howardkane@manxradio.com. Love to hear from you, and we could feature her more if you've got another track or song you know of Betty Roberts, some more details. Lovely voice. Lovely voice. Okie dokie, you better take your partner for a waltz with Mr. Victor Sylvester. Well, I hope that had you tripping around your living room in your slippers or bare feet or your shiny patent leather shoes, whatever you happen to wear on a Friday evening. And if you do happen to wear shiny patent leather shoes on a Friday evening to sit in your lounge listening to Sweet and Swing, I salute you, is all I can say. Top work. Victor Sylvester, strict tempo, ballroom dancing. And yeah, I probably told you about my ballroom dancing exploits before. Not good, to be honest. A shame the old maestro, he used to glide round the floor with my mama. The pair of them looked like they were on casters. I sort of rather looked more like I was either stumbling over bricks, walking up a beach of pebbles with bare feet, or on a pogo stick, one of the three. Or all three together sometimes. Jack Teagarden has pretty much got one of the last ones for us, I think, and he's pretty much saying what we've been doing. If I could be with you 1 hour tonight, I just about have been.
all blue. I don't know what to do. All night through, I seem to say to you, I did wrong when I let you go away. 'Cause now I dream about you night and day. I'm so unhappy and dissatisfied. I'd be happy if I knew you were my bride. If I could be with you 1 hour tonight and free to do all those little things I might. I want you to know that you couldn't go until I told you that I loved you so. If I could be with you, I'd love you long. If I could be with you, I'd love you strong. And I'm telling you true, you'd be anything but blue. If I could be with you just 1 hour, if I could be with you. Now listen, baby, if I could be with you for just 1 hour tonight, yes, free to do all those little things I might. I want you to know you wouldn't even want to go. Ba-bum, ba-bum. Why, if I could be with you, I'd love you long. If I could be with you, I'd love you strong. And I'm telling you the truth, you'd be anything but blue. If I could be, babe, with you for just 1 hour tonight. If I could be with you.
And you know what? I have been with you for just about 1 hour tonight because we are rapidly coming towards the end of the programme. Where does the time go? I know. Well, it's a good thing, isn't it? They always say time goes quickly when you're having fun. I've really enjoyed this evening, and so I sincerely hope you've enjoyed listening as much as I've enjoyed bringing you this wonderful music, which we just don't hear enough of these days on the airwaves. But if you want more, go to the podcasts. They're all there. Any time you like, go to manxradio.com or your usual podcast provider. You might have a favourite. You might subscribe already, in which case, good on you. And if not, try it out. Whichever method you use, you can get a podcast, you can listen to it, you can download it, and you can keep it for as long as you jolly well like. What's not to like about that? Jack Teagarden, what a character. Great voice as well. It's full of him in his playing. Sadly, he was rather riddled with booze, but his playing and his voice just oozes that sort of era, I think, and it just has a great feeling about it. You can sort of feel the life he's lived in his voice. And a wonderful little story he tells here of the year 1958. The US Department of State sponsored a 4-month tour by the Jack Teagarden Sextet to the Far East and the Orient, in keeping with the policy then of presenting outstanding American musical artists as a gesture of friendship to the rest of the world. And one of the highlights, I guess, said Jack, was leaving New York and landing in Afghanistan and turning around after leaving this beautiful airplane, and here comes a camel right at me. It must have been a bit of a shock to the system. That is about it, though. Look after yourselves. Getting a bit cooler, so stay warm, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Check out Jumping In if you like. Cheerio.